Well, joining me on set is Dr. Mohammed Tahir. He's the head of medical evacuation and chief of surgery at Fajr Global. It's a non-profit organization delivering medical and humanitarian services in crisis zones. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. You heard Hani there saying roughly 20,000 people in need of medical care. It's going to take, at the rate that the Israelis have set, in terms of transferring people, through about 3 years for those people to get that help. Talk to us about how important the opening of the crossing is.
First of all, thank you for having me. The Rafah Crossing opening again is definitely a lifeline for the people of Gaza in many ways. In the context of medical evacuation, there are, as you said, tens of thousands of critically injured people who create a huge healthcare burden on the existing infrastructure in Gaza, which is already depleted. I'll give you an example. We're engaged in evacuation, for example, right currently in Amman, from Gaza to Amman. And a lot of these patients who are polytrauma patients, so they've got multiple injuries, they're covered in sediments of thick debris and dirt from living in terrible conditions in tents and so on. They have a multi-drug resistant bacteria in their soft tissues, in their bones, and they have been sort of neglected, not through will, but by the conditions forced upon our colleagues in Gaza. 3 years of an injury is no way. I mean, that's just no way of managing these conditions. These are time-critical injuries. From July 24 to November 28, there were over 1,000 patients that died waiting for evacuation. 150 doesn't even scratch the surface. This is a token. It's no more than that. It's just something that the Israelis can say, oh, we fulfilled this checklist and so on. But in terms of actually bringing benefit to the people of Gaza, this is nothing.
There's a lot of speculation that this will lead to crowds of people who are going to move towards Rafah in the hope that they're going to be able to get through the crossing at some point. They still, of course, as Hani was describing, don't have any guarantees that they would actually be allowed to return. They may not be allowed to qualify for return. You've been working with so many people like that over the years. Can you give us a sense of how those people might be feeling with the opening of the crossing now?
Caught between a rock and a hard place. I mean, imagine you're the father or the mother of an injured person, and you want the best for your child. You want them to receive the best level of care, because otherwise this child will be bedbound or bedridden or will suffer from long-term infections and will have a miserable life. And you're faced with that option of leaving to seek treatment for your child. And this has happened because I know and I've experienced this. Versus leaving your family behind and knowing that you may never see them again, or you may never smell the breath or smell the scent of your city and so on. It's terrible. And it's such a difficult position, and it's such a crime that they are forced into these positions. But they are people with no choice. Ultimately, these families need to make very difficult decisions. I know for a lot of family members, at the present moment, their short-term thinking is, let me get my family member in the best possible situation. By the way, a lot of family members that leave with these injured children are grandmothers or aunts because their parents have been killed. And I have several orphans, mother and father orphaned, double orphaned, children with severe injuries and only a grandmother to look after them. It's really a terrible situation, because then that grandmother has to leave behind her, for example, other remaining children that might be alive and so on. Terrible situation. I mean, it's so difficult. And they carry so many ethical and moral conditions.
In terms of the kind of decisions that people are having to make, do you think that, given the timescales that we're talking about and the chance that they may not even get through the crossing in the first place, people might actually decide just to stay where they are, despite the fact that they are suffering from terrible afflictions that can't be treated with the medical facilities that are left in Gaza? We've been reporting extensively on just how bad the damage is for hospitals and medical centres, and of course the number of medical staff who have been killed. Do you think people are going to end up just staying where they are and living with the illnesses that they have?
That's absolutely correct, and I have experience of this. You're limited in the number of persons you can take with you, for example, for medical evacuation. And some people, when they're left with that choice, they say, no, we'll stay in Gaza, we'll suffer instead. And some people have said, no, we're firmly planted in this earth This is the earth, this is the land of our fathers and our forefathers, and we gave blood and we sacrificed to stay on this land. We will not be part of a forced displacement. Of course, these people that leave, there's no guarantee they'll come back. I mean, in Egypt, for example, for the Rafah Crossing, there's no current infrastructure to transport these patients to, for example, other Arab nations. For Palestinians, the travel between nations is extremely difficult. A lot of them don't even have passports. So, for example, if they end up in healthcare systems in Egypt, which have received already to this date tens of thousands, to be fair, and are already overstretched, and there are many cases in Egypt which are neglected. I don't see this as a permanent or a complete or comprehensive solution to what is a very complex scenario. We need to. I'm still shocked that at this point in time, there hasn't been a unifying body which has sat down and said, okay, this is how we're going to address this issue. Okay, we'll move them to Egypt. We'll treat them in these private facilities, for example, take the burden off local healthcare systems. We'll create infrastructure for them to travel to other places and so on. And it hasn't happened. And so, I really do envy the people of Gaza. They're in such a difficult position, but we will stand by them until the very end.
We really appreciate you coming to join us in Al Jazeera, giving us the benefit of your expertise, Dr. Mohammed Tahir. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.